Hi friends, in this video we will create Spring Data JPA repository, and if you look at the application.properties file, I have added show SQL flag, and what it exactly does is if there is any database query running, it will display it in my console. And to demo it, what I have done is I have updated the TDL auto to create option, and let's run this, and you can see it will print the SQL in the console. So what create does is it will drop the table from the in the database and create them whatever the entity class we have defined. You can see that we have drop table if exist flight. This is nothing but our entity class, and it is then printing the SQL. So in production, basically this is something that we don't enable, but in development it is sometimes useful for troubleshooting. Okay, so next let's go to our application and create a repository, and we'll put all our repository in repository package. And what it says invalid package. Oh, I had double dot here, so and I'll stop the server here. Now in the repository package, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an interface, and I'll name it as iFlight. And it's always good practice to prefix I for any interface that we create, so that denotes that is an interface. And I'll say this as a repository and hit finish. And what I'm going to do is basically here I'm going to extend this with a the CRUD repository interface that is in the Spring Data JPA API. So CRUD repository, and what this gives us, basically this gives us all the basic functionalities or methods that which we can use to do the normal operations, like if you want to fetch the data, fetch the table or row, or you want to update, or you want to delete. So all those basic CRUD operations you can get using CRUD repository, and you don't need to give an implementation for this interface. Okay, the Spring will provide you all those classes implemented and also the methods in it. Okay, so basic methods. On top of it, you can also create basically you don't even create, you can just name it and it will create it for you, and we'll see that in our future session. But remember that all you need to do is just create an interface, and that will do your job. Okay, and depending on your if you want to fetch an by name, by ID, all those will be on runtime. It will create all those for you. Okay, so let's do that, and it takes the argument as this will take the name of your entity. This is our entity is flight, and the type of the primary key, and that is nothing but our integer. Okay, so you can see, if you look at the implementation, you can see you have save method, save all. If you have collection of flight entities, okay, that you can save. And if you want to find a particular flight with ID, you can use this method. And also if you want to check if it exists, find all, it will give you all the flights that are in the database. Okay, and find by ID, all by ID, and that way count and all this. You can see that these are the basic methods that are available for you when you extend the CRUD repository that is from the Spring Data JPA API. So let's now, what we do is we will use this and try to insert. Okay, we'll start with insert. Okay, we'll try to insert a row in the database. Okay, and that we'll be doing that using RESTful web service. Let's do that in the flight. Okay, now we have the entity, we have the repository. So let's go to the controller. In the controller, we are going to invoke the create, right? So now the return type here is not string. It is going to be my entity, that is nothing but flight. I'm going to return my flight object. Okay, and I'll just import this, and here I'll not, this is something I'll correct later, but for now. And also, once you create the interface, you also need to add an annotation that says repository. Okay, so that's perfect. And let's go back to our controller, and here what I'll do is I will auto wire it, and I'll name this as flight repo, and I'll use this in our create method, and I'll say, you can see all the we have all the methods available, and we don't need to implement this, right? So Spring Data JPA provides us all these methods. So what we are going to do is we are going to create it. So what we'll do is we'll use the save method. Okay, so for save we need to have the entity, so we'll create an entity, and I'll use flight is equal to new flight, and flight dot, I'm going to set the flight number. Flight number is a string type, so I'm going to save this as F123, and I'll just do a flight. I'll just give some basic capacity as 60, and set, I don't want ID, that will automatically generated, so manufactured by GITG, and what I'm going to do is flight.set manufactured on, and I'm going to say local date dot, I'll say now. Okay, perfect. So now this is what I'm going to, I have created my object, and I'm going to send it here. Okay, perfect. So this is what I am going to, and what does this return? This return me back again and flight. So this is what I'll do is I'll say again flight. Okay, and this is what I'll return back as a response body. Perfect. So now what will happen is when I access this method, I post it, then I'm going to create an object, and I'm going to save in my database, and that will be returned, and the saved one object will be returned and sent back in the response body. So let's see that how it happens in when we run this application. So right click on the project, and let's start the project for the application, and we don't see any error so far. Okay, the table is created. Did I change it to update? Oh, I did not, but that's fine. That's fine, I can do that later. It's okay. And okay, so that now if you go to our database and see if there is any data here, and you can see there is nothing. Let's go to Postman. In Postman, we'll go to Post, and here what we're going to do is, this is our response. Okay, and in the body we are going to add the data, and in this here we'll add, we don't want to add, sorry, we are not sending any request, right? We are just creating that in our controller itself. Okay, and we'll see in our next session where we will be sending this information from the Postman, that is in the request body. But for now what I'm going to do is we are just calling the post this create flight, and we are creating the object and we are saving it. Okay, so let's see if I make this call, and if I say send, let's see, and you can see that it returned us the a JSON object. Basically, it is a JSON object, and you have ID that was automatically generated, and flight number, capacity, and the manufactured by and the manufactured on. And if you look at the headers, the content type is now application JSON. Previously it was plain text, but now it is JSON. Now let's go to our database and we refresh, and you can see that the data is inserted. So that's how we insert the data using our Spring Data JPA repository. Okay, we need some tweak, and we also will see in our next session how we can send this information from the client in the request body, and instead of we creating here, we will also, instead of we sending back the plain entity, we will try to add a DTO layer, and instead of passing the database object, we'll pass a data value that is nothing but data transfer object, and we'll see all this in our next session. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next session.